How's it going, YouTube? Jamie the Kid 00 here, or Jamie the Kid CFE if you're watching this on my Cardfight channel. I'm here with a tournament report for you guys. Today was the start of my locals running Vanguard tournaments every Sunday. We had been limited to one every month. We're now going to be running one every week, so that's pretty awesome. So today was also the first locals we had with cross rides being legal, with the, of course, the release of Set 5. We had a few players playing pure Set 5 decks, and strangely enough, we had prize cut to top 4, and all the decks in top 4 were Set 5 decks, so I guess Set 5 is a pretty good set. So I'm here to talk to you guys about how I did in the tournament. I ended up playing Shadow Paladin, Phantom Blaster Overlord deck. I felt that the deck was a bit more consistent than Majesty Lord in testing, and I need a third Majesty Lord before I think I can really play it competitively, so I went with this deck, and it was a pretty good decision. I ended up going 4-1, coming third after Swiss, because we didn't do a top 8. And my only loss was to a player who ended up coming second, also going 4-1, who lost to the winner. So I guess I did pretty well. Coincidentally, the person I lost to was also, if you watched my deck profile earlier, I mentioned that a player that I only refer to as Wingull helped me build this deck. I think I'm running the same deck list as him. He was the player I faced in round 1, and I lost to him in the mirror match, so that was sad times. But ultimately I was able to play out of it and go 4-0 after that point. But ultimately I figure I should probably talk about my matchups first before I go into the list, because the list is available elsewhere on my channel and I don't want to waste your time. So, I mean, as I said, round 1 I ended up playing against basically the precise mirror match. And I think game 1 I had a better hand, but eventually he managed to grind it out. And then I believe game 2 I opened up with with Charon, and then he opened up with Javelin, and I was like, yep, there goes the game. I didn't see Javelin that often, but that was that. So I did get 2-0'd in the first round. I believe I lost every game 1 all day, which wasn't fun. So after losing that, I was mildly disheartened, but it was a loss I expected to take. Wingull is probably the best player at my locals, so it was acceptable. Round 2, I ended up playing against the Dudley Emperor Spike Brother deck, which was something I hadn't faced before. Cupcakey does own a Spike Brother deck, but she only ever played Seafried, so I didn't know what to expect from Dudley Emperor too much. And I found the deck really, really painful to play against right in the early game. But eventually, after losing game 1, I started to figure out some of the plays and some of the ways to stop him from making his plays or put him in bad positions. And games 2 and 3, I found myself putting him in a position where if he had Dudley Emperor on board, I would try and leave, say, his high-speed Braki and his Treasured Black Panther on the front row and just not attack them. Because then all he could do with his Dudley Emperor was use its skill to retire his back rows and get Wonder Boys out, instead of dropping double Juggernaut that he had been doing to me, which was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, in game 1. So I ended up kind of trying to funnel him into those plays, and I managed to win games 2 and 3 by trying to funnel, and the fact that Phantom Blaster Overlord being 13k is incredible, because it means you can guard for 5 a lot against a lot of things, which really does make the difference when your opponent's swinging for 17 and you can guard for 5. Makes all of the difference. After that, I ended up playing against someone playing Mega Colonies. He was playing the Mutant Master Beetle Giraffe build. So he was playing, I think, 3 Mutant Master Beetles, or 2 Mutant Master Beetles, some Giraffas, and then some Violent Vespers as his mains. I ended up losing game 1 as well, just because I'd never actually played against Mega Colony. And I just kind of got a bit overwhelmed, and I got grade stuck to grade 2 for quite a while, and by the time I found Phantom Blaster Dragon, it just wasn't good enough. And then games 2 and 3, I realised a lot of the time that if I just left one of my rear guards stood in the back row, he would really be in a really bad position, because he was playing a lot of boosters and a lot of front row guys that gained when all of my units were rested. So I just left one of my units on the back row, stood. And at one point I had 2 really bad back row boosters, and I tried to bait him into attacking me with Giraffe and hitting, and he did. He hit with it, counterblasted 2, killed 2 of his quite good rear guards to kill my 2 back row boosters. I was like, sweet, drop 3 Charons from hand. So advantage. It's just learning to try and bait the deck into doing things you want it to. I found was the best way to beat it. Round 4, I ended up playing against Narakami. which was probably one of my hardest matchups. Narukami Vermilion, he was maining, I believe, 8 stands, or at least 6, and just the crits and the stands kept coming. And again, I lost game 1 to that. Game 2, I managed to play out of it with Bluster Overlord. Game 3, I got Overlord a little bit late, and I actually must say I miracle triggered for the win. And then basically I had the exact same story for round 5 up against another Narukami player playing stand triggers, and I miracle triggered him sadly in the final game. And I am sorry for sacking miracle triggers, but it's Vanguard. There is that mechanic, so if there's a mechanic in it, you've got to hope for it. So the miracle triggers did keep coming, and I do attribute my wins to that. But either way, that was how the tournament went. So it was a loss to Phantom Blaster Overlord, a win against 2 Narukami decks, 1 Mega Colony, and 1 Spike Brother deck. That was it. I could not remember it. But otherwise, to talk about the top 4, the top 4 ended up being first place Dragonic Overlord, the end, going completely undefeated after 5 rounds, beating the second place finisher. Second place was Phantom Blaster Overlord. Third place was myself with Phantom Blaster Overlord. And fourth place was New Nectar Maiden of the Trailing Rose, which was really quite unexpected, but kudos to that player for going X and 1 with Trailing Rose. I must also say that all 3 of the Cross-Ride decks topped. There were no other players playing Cross-Ride decks. It's just myself, Wingal, and the player who played Dote. So all of the Cross-Ride decks topped, so I guess that can say something about the meta of Cross-Rides. Either way, I've kept you guys waiting for too long. I'm going to get right into the list now. So we're going to talk about it. We played the one decent starter for the deck because we don't have Dark Goat. The full bow was alright. I didn't see Javelin that often actually, and sometimes I'd find myself with an opening of the full bow, of course. I'd have like a Garuru bow, a Blaster Dark, and 2 Phantom Blaster Overlords and a Javelin, and I'd just go, oh, I don't need the Blaster Dark, and I'd just go ride Garuru bow, call Blaster Javelin, ditch one of the dragons for ditch one of the Overlords for a dragon, and then I'd eventually see my marker and be able to painter it in, and it let me cross-ride so much faster than if I'd actually ridden Javelin. So I'd like to think those were some good plays. Continuing with the zeros, I played 4 heal, which I did sack quite a bit. But I didn't actually sack crits or draws all that often, to be fair. I played 4 draws, so we only have 4 draws. And then 8 critical triggers. Again, I didn't see them that often. I did crit for game once, but most of the time I saw my crits mid-game. And they didn't serve too much of a purpose. Like, my opponent would sometimes just take it to get his limit breaks online, so they were kind of bad. Then for the grade 1s, I played 4 copies of Blaster Javelin, the best card to open in your opening hand ever. But if you don't open it, you're kind of disheartened and you're in a mildly bad position. But this card's pretty cool. Just late game, he's really awful, and you will just end up throwing it away for guards. But because you play Overlord now, it was really bad in the set 4 variant. But in the Overlord variant, because your 5k guards are quite good, you can just throw this away for your 5k guards. Then, continuing on, I played 4 copies of Black Sage Charon. The amount of games where I would just go Maka call this, because Charon is just such a good asset to have on the rear. And then you could also abuse this behind a Phantom Blaster Overlord to have it just swinging for 21 basic. So, why not? Then, continuing on with the grade 1s, I played double Garuru Bow. I played no Arian Rods just because I like Garuru Bow personally. I think the only difference is Wingal played 2 Arian Rods and I played 2 Garuru Bow. And I don't regret it. I really enjoyed the 2 Garuru Bow. They put in a lot of work. So, they're really good cards. And then I played 1 Nightmare Painter for the play that I talked about in the deck profile that you should probably go check out. Just the marker play where you can go ride Overlord when you have a dragon in hand and a marker. And then just put marker out, get this, and then put the dragon straight into the soul so you can cross-ride a turn early. It's a really good play, and I got it off so many times during the tournament. So I was cross-riding basically turn 3. And then I played 3 copies of the Dark Shield Mackler, which clogged a little bit, but it was pretty good. It was pretty good. There were a lot of times when I had at least 2 in hand. Then on to the grade 2s, I played 2 Blaster Dark. Again, the perfect number. If you draw one, you can still search another one off of your Javelin if you ride it. It's just a really awesome card, and I really would not play any more or any less. Then I played 3 copies of probably the best rear guard in the deck. Knight of Nullity Masquerade. This card put in so much work today. That 12k is so good, especially with the Charon behind it. The ability to swing for 20k off of a rear guard in a deck that puts as much pressure on as this is just so phenomenal, and I really enjoyed playing these. I might even invest in a fourth, I really don't know, but it was very good. Then I played 3 copies of Darkness Maiden Maka. As you guys know, in my old kind of deck profiles, I was playing 2. Again, this is another pointer from Wingal. Again, I'm going to give a shout out to his channel and put it in the description below, because I keep talking about the guy, and I owe a lot of this deck to him. He recommended that I play a third one. For the Maka plays, the amount of things that it just opens up for the deck, and just the amount of advantage it really does put in, and I respect that decision the whole way. It's been so good. I at least get 2 of them off a game, and playing the third was phenomenal. Thank you for trading me it, because otherwise I don't think I would have been able to get hold of one. And then I played 2 Skullwitch Nemains. They were okay. Nemain was a bit of a Marmite card for me. It was good, and then it was bad. A lot of the time I drew 2. I'd have 2 all the time, and I'd like call 1 and just ditch the other one because I was just so frustrated with having 2 in hand at the same time. I thankfully never had to ride one of these. It was a point at which I thought I was going to have to ride it, and I top decked into a Blaster Dark, and I was so happy because I did not want to have to ride this and then basically just take all the damage for that turn because it's so weak. So I don't know how I feel about Nemains at the moment. And then I played 2 copies of Curse Lancer. I'm not sure how I feel about Curse Lancer. I mean, I guess it's a good pressure card, but it could have been better. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. Then for the grade 3s, I played 3 copies of Phantom Blaster Dragon. Basically, this used to be the best card in the deck. It's still kind of like my favourite card in the deck, especially for its awesome artwork. But, like, now it's just soul fodder. It is just absolute soul food that you want to just keep trying to search out with your Blaster Javelins, and then just keep putting them in the soul for the big guy. But, I mean, it was good. I mean, this card won me a game, just on the rear guard. It was the card that actually won me my final game against, it won me my game in round 4 against Narukami, and I was like, yeah, the SP Dragon won a game on the rear guard, because he never wins a game on the Vanguard, because this guy's always sitting on top of him. But the Dragons, they're a bit underwhelming now. I never actually used its skill all day. I just used it as an 11k Vanguard quite a lot, because I would usually get it on top of a Blaster Dark, even if I didn't get the Javelin out. But it was pretty good. And then, to round off the profile, I played 4 copies of Phantom Blaster Overlord. Talk about his actual skill first. I only used his skill, I believe, twice. Once it got perfect. No, I used it 3 times. Once it got perfect guarded. Once it got naturally guarded for like 40. He had to guard for about 6 cards in hand, and that put him massively off kilter, and that basically won me the game because of the advantage system. And then the other time, my opponent just couldn't guard, and he took 2 crit and lost. So I really like its skill. You won't use it very often because I found myself putting the counterblast on other things to just actually get the board up. The thing I most value this for is the fact that it's 13k when it's over a dragon, and that's pretty consistent to get it over a dragon. And just that 13k puts in so much work because your opponent has to swing for 18, and that's a 10k vanilla on top of an 8k vanilla. So your opponent isn't going to be building that many columns. So, you know, that they're not going to be building that column that often. So it's pretty awkward for them to set up. So it's a pretty good bet that you're going to be guarded for 5s more than you are 10s with this guy out. So that's about all I have to talk about on this deck. I'm really happy with it. I might play Majesty Lord next week if I can get another Majesty Lord in. I do need a 3rd because I don't think the deck is good with 2. But otherwise, I think that's about all I wanted to say on the matter. Otherwise, yeah, any questions on the profile or anything else you want to ask about how the tournament went, what kind of decks there were, all sorts of things like that, please just drop me a PM or a comment down below, and I will be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, this is Jamie the Kid 00. As per usual, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time with some more Yu-Gi-Oh! And Vanguard content. Bye!